am I the asshole for asking my trans brother to be my bridesman? My 27 female brother, Jake, fake name, 27 male, transitioned from female to male 3 years ago. My twin sister is going to be my maid of honor, and it was also important for me to have Jake with me at the altar. So I asked Jake if he would be my, quote, bridesman.
I understand where the offense is going to be taken, but I don't think it's a big deal. The important thing is your sister is trying to include you as family on her side of the wedding. She's respecting your gender generally. Traditionally, that's not usually how it goes. I don't know how brides get like brothers in on their side of the wedding. The dad gives the daughter away. I don't know, the maid of honor is her best friend or whatever. Like, how do siblings of, you know, the unconventional gender actually get to play a part in that side of the wedding? It's kind of stupid when you actually think about it. It's like, I mean, if you want to have your brother as your best man, you can do that, but your sister can't. Weddings in general are already like stuck in gender norms, so this is already a topic to throw out the window.
But Jake freaked out. Jake said that he should be a groomsman for my fiance because he doesn't want to be seen with my bridesmaids.
Sure, however, is he and the groom close like that? Personally speaking, if I don't know who my sibling is getting married to that well, you know, like we're not that tight, I might not want to be like their groomsman per se. Like it's not the vibe. It doesn't clock.
Because people will think he was a girl. He accused me of asking him to be a bridesman because I still thought of him as a girl, which isn't true. I explained to him that it didn't make any sense for him to stand by my fiance because they've only met a handful of times, and my fiance already has a budget-approved number of groomsmen. And besides, Jake is my brother, and I want him to stand by and support me during the wedding. Plus, before Jake transitioned, I always planned to include him in my wedding. So why should his gender change anything about that?
Did you talk to him about that,
I see his argument that
beforehand?
It might make him feel dysphoric, but having bridesmen is becoming a more common tradition.
Which is good.
He has a beard and he'd be wearing a suit. So there's no way anyone would think he was a girl.
No mistaking.
Jake and I fought back and forth for a while, and I finally snapped and told him he couldn't be in the wedding at all if he didn't want to stand on my side.
If you're not gonna be in one of the gender conforming roles of either the bride side or the groom side, dude, you're just gonna have to take a seat in the audience. I don't know what to tell you. That's how the cookie crumbles.
He called me an asshole, and it made me feel awful. I guess I needed to vent about it to strangers. So, am I the asshole?
Heart in the right place.
Like it might be.
Really? Okay.
I'm not conforming.
We live in a world that is very gendered. Everything is gendered. Down, you know, from bathrooms to weddings, everything has gender. Fair for like this, you know, woman who's getting married to be like, we're, you know, it doesn't mean you're a woman. It just like I want you on my side of the wedding. If a trans person is like, hi, this is my identity, and putting me in this box makes me uncomfortable, I feel like it just stops there. Like okay, we'll find a different way to make it work.
Well, here's the thing, the different way to make it work is you sit in the audience. If he was just like born as your brother and your brother didn't know the groom that well, you're not in the wedding because you can't be in your sister's entourage. You're not qualified to be in the groom's entourage.
Our, you know, long traditional gendered experiences.
Oh yeah, it's like giving off a woman in exchange for shit. Like it's very
So it's gonna be real hard to degender that, you know, experience, which is why it's like.
But you should. We should try.
Sticker.
Yeah.
Straight people weddings. So I'll let them have that one thing. I'm not gonna be at the wedding, so I'm not gonna be like, you can't do that. But like there are other ways to involve people. I also feel like, I don't know. Obviously, it doesn't sound like she offered him an alternative. I think that another way that you could go about this is just having like 3 men, 3 women on your side, and then it's like not even a gendered experience. But when you have like all of the women and then the trans man, it's giving like all of the women and then my fun women. It's how I felt during that Vice interview. All of the men and then the non-binary man, and I'm like, the
it's
non-binary
just
what?
Non-binary person.
Right.
Bitch, thanks.
They didn't say that, but that's kind of how it felt.
The saying that popped into my head for this one is like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I butcher sayings.
But that's such a dramatic statement for something that to me seems so innocuous. Be in the wedding or don't. I just don't care about weddings, guys. This is beyond me.
How do you feel about weddings? Like, do you, like, you
I'm
have...
Hate it.
You asked for abduction stories, and I came to deliver. This story's about me. So when I was in grade school, my best friend and I lived about a block away from each other. Our neighborhood was safe. This was the 90s, so our parents let us just have freedom in running back and forth to each other's houses and around the neighborhood together on our bikes.
Weird how the 90s is considered the safe time, or maybe it was just considered the careless time because there wasn't enough social media coverage to say that, hey, the villains are out there and they're coming for you.
One winter evening, after a playdate at my house, my friend had to go back home for dinner, so I walked her. So we were about 8 or 9 years old at this time, and as we were walking, totally distracted by some silly conversation we were having, I noticed a green Sebring convertible drive right past us, then stop, back up to get closer to us, and then just drive off.
Okay.
It gave me a weird feeling, but I brushed it off because I was a kid and young and naive. I got my friend to her house, hugged her goodbye, and then turned around and started walking back home alone. When I got about a half a block from her house, where I had to cross the street to get back to my block, the car pulled up in front of me, blocking me from crossing. He rolled down his window, and it was a man, probably in his late 30s or early 40s, with dark hair and a smirk on his face. He said, "Hey, little girl, do you want some candy? I have some in here for you."
Stranger.
No way.
Right, Garrett? Right? There's no way he used the candy line. Kids may forget about the stranger danger thing, but once you say, hey, you want some candy? That's like alarm bells. It's like candy is the danger word. Candy? Candy?
Wait, the classic, do you want some candy?
Yeah.
All right.
My stomach dropped to the floor. What a typical line to use, right? It ignited the ultimate stranger danger in my young brain.
Young people aren't stupid. Give young people credit. They're smart when they are made to be smart. If you are taught correctly, you will know.
I politely said, "No, thank you," and then he quickly rolled up his window and sped off. I took off and started running to my house. As I said, it was a winter night. I lived in Ohio, so it was very icy and snowy and slippery. I fell and scraped my knees, got up, and kept running towards my house, and at this point I was crying pretty hard. My dad was outside in our backyard chopping wood for our fire that night, and he saw me
Father,
running
I was
towards him
almost
crying,
kidnapped.
and he immediately started yelling, "What's wrong? What happened?"
He offered me candy. It was awful. It was horrible. What a traumatic experience. Somebody offering you candy is like, oh great, I'm about to be kidnapped. What an awful Friday.
I told him, and he took running off down the street with a chopping axe in his hand looking for the guy. She said, "Girl, dad instinct activated."
That's so funny.
We were all pretty shaken up, and for the next few months, anytime I was in the neighborhood, I was always looking over my shoulder for that convertible. But after a few months, I think I tried to forget about it and not be scared. Things went back to normal until that summer.
Okay.
My friends and I were holding a lemonade stand, once again about a block from my house, but in the other direction. We were right on the edge of the lawn, right in front of my friend's house. No adults were out with us, but we were in her yard. We were having fun and laughing and just being sweet little girls when all of a sudden, the green Sebring pulls up. My blood went cold. He got out of his car, walks up, looks
Ta-dum.
right in my eyes and says, "I'll take a lemonade."
No,
I
you
couldn't
won't.
even move. I was frozen in fear.
We don't
My
sell
friend,
to
having no idea
rapists
who he was, just poured him the lemonade and said,
and
"That'll be
child
50 cents."
molesters.
He gave us $5 and then walked back to his car and drove away. That was the last time I saw him. I'm grateful that this story doesn't have a more
That's it?
tragic ending. This guy
Thank God.
clearly had horrible and disgusting intentions, and we hear way too many of these things not ending this way. Thanks for reading, and grateful to be here to tell this story.
Well, at least you
I
got
love
money out of
guys,
it.
Emily. What
So
would you
bad.
have gone to a car for?
I don't think anything.
Like a gecko?
I don't think
When I
anything.
was a kid?
Yeah.
When I was a kid? Okay, so if the guy told me, hey, I have the latest video games packed away in my car. I'm selling them for $10 a piece. In my currency, that's a big old steal. Why don't you come to my trunk and see what I have back there? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. He could have the latest Final Fantasy. Like, you offer me video games for $10. I'm like, yes, sir, let's go to that trunk.
Today I f***ed up telling my dad I have never had sex. He asked if I had a girlfriend and I said no. Then he asked if I've ever had a girlfriend because he's never seen me with a girl. I said never. My dad poured the last drop of wine in my glass and asked if I was still a virgin. I was tempted to lie, but I paused too long, so I said yes. My dad said I had no reason to feel ashamed about my virginity, but encouraged me to have as much sex as possible before I end up married to a person whose vagina comes with an impenetrable encryption. I ignored the obvious reference to my mom's you-know-what and called it a night.
Oh my god.
This family is
Sorry.
This is a Resident Evil family. I asked my dad if I was allowed to sleep in the spare bedroom because I didn't want to drive home drunk. My dad said I was more than welcome. I must have been sleeping for less than an hour before I woke up to the sound of my dad knocking on the door. I don't remember what I mumbled as I opened my eyes, but the moment my dad heard my voice,
so scared.
he entered my room with another person.
Oh, no.
It was a girl. My dad introduced her by name, but did the air quotes
that's for
thing
me.
with his fingers to imply that it was a fake name. I
That's
could
for
tell my
me.
dad was still drunk.
No. Okay, so take whatever girl you got and take her to your room and have fun. Like, I don't know what this is, but about face,
Not gonna lie, I was still drunk too, but not drunk enough to disregard the weird f***ing shit that was happening. Without giving me proper time to react, my dad
This is why I
said
don't
the girl
drink.
knew exactly what to do before
Yeah,
closing the
specifically
door on
this.
his way out. The girl did not know what to do. She did nothing other than awkwardly waiting for me to say something. I eventually asked her what was going on, and she said my dad hired her to sleep with me. I died of embarrassment, especially when the girl asked me to explain if I was on the zero experience or the some experience end of the virgin spectrum. Without thinking, I said I was gay. It was the first time I
and that's
actually
it?
said it out loud. The girl sat
is it
down on the bed
truth?
and asked if I was a top or a bottom. I shrugged and said I didn't know yet.
there's a lot of circus happening right now. There's a lot of clownery going on. And it's not just the delusional dad.
My face must have been so red at that moment. The girl said if I was willing to go shower, then she would basically be willing to motorboat my butt.
What?
Okay. I'm using that terminology next time.
Motorboat my butt.
What an adventure.
To be honest, I considered it. I'm human, I'm horny. However, the girl had a severe case of motor mouth. When she finally stopped talking, I learned that my dad sleeps with sex workers who kind of look like my mom, and that women closing their eyes with too much food in their mouth and saying, turns him on.
What? What's that
You'd think
about?
at some point he'd have been like, you know what, we should stop. I said she could keep my sexuality between the two of us. She said her
That's easy.
She said her lips were sealed until the time
Are they,
comes
though?
to suck.
Wow. You know what? She's fun. She's funny.
The following morning, I confronted my dad. I said I didn't appreciate what he did and made sure he understood that he wasted his money because nothing happened. My dad was apologetic and promised never to cross that line again, no matter how much alcohol was involved. Despite his apology, the mood was still somewhat tense. I decided to break the tension by closing my eyes and saying, while eating breakfast.
No. Listen, y'all on Reddit, if anybody is for whatever reason watching this video and you go on Reddit and you're frequent at writing either stories or commenting on stories, stop. Just stop.
The look on my dad's face was priceless. I lost my appetite soon afterwards because I instantly regretted doing something that might arouse my father. Oh my God.
Wow, you did that, huh?
My dad and I have been avoiding each other since that night. Not gonna lie, I was okay with that. We needed space. This morning, my dad showed up at my apartment. Unusual but not surprising. He was courteous enough to call beforehand, asked if I was available, said he wanted to talk. I assumed he was still feeling bad about ambushing me with a sex worker. Little did I know that my dad's primary objective was to establish if his 20-year-old son was sexually attracted to other people's 20-year-old sons.
It means he's asking if his son is actually gay. Just so you know. It's not that weird of an approach.
I said my roommate was at the gym. My dad's response was to drop the following line. Sharing an apartment with a guy who works out must be motivating.
Oh my
Slow
God.
clap. Subtle as fuck, my father. I implied that he had girls that come and go. My dad said my roommate must be handsome to get so much attention. I shrugged and said, or he's paying for it. It was a joke, an uncomfortable joke based on my dad's disturbed expression. We danced around the topic of my sexuality for a little longer because it was still a big moment despite all the weird shit that happened the last time my dad and I were under the same roof. I eventually came out and said, Dad, I'm gay. My dad stood up and showed me he was wearing socks with rainbow stripes to celebrate the news. I didn't even notice his socks until he lifted the leg opening.
Absolute clown, but it's nice. It's nice. It's alright. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. Actual clown.
He had another pair of rainbow socks in his pocket, which he gave to me when we were done hugging. I suppose the outcome could have been worse. I doubt there will be another update. So thank you for riding this wave with me.
What a crazy, silly story.